Power doesn't always roar, it whispers in the dark before it strikes. In episode 7 of Tulsa King season 3, Dwight the General Manfredi proves once again that he's not just surviving in Tulsa. He's reshaping it in his own ruthless image. Every move he makes in this episode feels like a game of chess, slow, patient, and devastatingly calculated. By the end, what looked like weakness turns into a masterstroke that changes everything. This isn't just another episode about revenge and loyalty, it's Dwight showing us how a true king reclaims his crown, no matter who has to fall. Episode 7 begins with an unsettling quiet. The streets of Tulsa feel tense, almost as if they're holding their breath. Dwight is back in control, or at least, that's what it seems. But beneath the surface, cracks are forming. His crew is uneasy, the feds are circling closer, and old enemies are beginning to rise again. There's a sense that something huge is coming, but nobody can tell which direction it's going to hit from. We see Dwight moving with that same calm confidence that's made him both feared and respected. But this time, there's a colder edge to him. After the betrayal in episode 6, he stopped pretending to play nice. He's watching everyone more carefully, calculating who's still loyal and who might sell him out next. The episode makes it clear Dwight's patience has limits, and when those limits break, someone always pays. The writers play this section like a slow burn. Conversations feel sharper, shorter, filled with hidden threats. A simple meeting at the bar becomes a standoff in words: no guns, no violence, just eyes locking across the table. Even when Dwight smiles, it doesn't reach his eyes. You can feel the weight of the choices he's about to make. At the same time, we get glimpses of the world pushing back against him. Chickie's men from New York are making quiet moves, spreading whispers about how Dwight's lost his edge. The ATF, frustrated by their lack of progress, starts closing in with renewed pressure. And Dwight's allies like Tyson and Mitch start to feel the heat too. The tension builds not through action, but through silence and suspicion. There's a particularly powerful scene early in the episode where Dwight stands alone in the empty bar after hours. The lights are dim, the music's off, and all we hear is the hum of the refrigerator and the faint sound of cars outside. He pours himself a drink, stares at his reflection in the glass, and mutters something under his breath about the cost of being king. It's one of those quiet moments that say more than any explosion or gunfight could. You can tell Dwight's done playing defense. What makes this first part so effective is how it contrasts calm with danger. Everything looks under control, but the pacing, the music, and the camera work remind us that this piece is fake. It's the kind of stillness that only exists right before something breaks. Dwight knows it too. You can see it in his face, in the way he moves slower, speaks less, and listens more. He's studying his enemies, preparing for the strike that he knows is coming. But here's the twist: the audience starts to realize maybe Dwight isn't just reacting. Maybe he's already setting the trap. The clues are subtle: a phone call that doesn't seem important, a casual mention of a meeting that never happens, a small favor he does for someone we barely notice. It's all groundwork for something bigger. By the end of this first section, we understand that Dwight isn't just waiting for war. He's already started it silently, strategically, and without anyone realizing. The calm we see isn't peace, it's preparation. And once he makes his move, nobody in Tulsa, friend or foe, is going to see it coming. Every storm leaves damage behind. But in Tulsa King episode 7, the real destruction begins after the silence breaks. The second act opens with the aftermath of Dwight's quiet plotting. Whatever peace he had built in Tulsa is now shattered. The fallout doesn't come as a loud explosion, it comes as a series of small, deliberate cracks that spread faster than anyone expects. Dwight's enemies have made their move, but what they don't realize is that they're already playing on his board. The episode wastes no time showing that the walls are closing in. Early on, Dwight learns that one of his closest associates has been feeding information to the ATF. It's a gut punch, not because he didn't see it coming, but because he always knew betrayal was part of the business. What hits harder is how calm he stays. When Mitch tells him about the leak, Dwight doesn't shout, doesn't throw a chair. He just sits there, thinking. His eyes narrow, and you can almost feel the gears turning. He knows exactly what to do, and that makes it even scarier. Meanwhile, the feds step up their investigation. They've got new warrants, new witnesses, and they're circling the bar like vultures waiting for a mistake. Dwight, however, doesn't give them one. Instead, he flips the pressure back on them in his own way using information, manipulation, and that old-school mob instinct that made him a legend in New York. One scene shows him meeting a small-time informant in a dusty parking lot, trading a few envelopes and a single line of dialogue. Everyone talks when they think they're whispering. It's chilling because it tells you Dwight isn't just aware of the betrayal, he's weaponizing it. The fallout spreads beyond the law, too. Inside the crew, trust starts to crumble. Tyson's loyalty is tested when he's caught in the middle of a conflict he doesn't understand. He's still learning how deep Dwight's world goes, and episode 7 pushes him closer to the edge. There's a tense moment when Tyson questions Dwight's choices, and instead of a fatherly speech, Dwight simply says, "You wanted to learn the game, kid." This is the part they don't show in the movies. It's both a warning and a lesson, Dwight's way of hardening him for what's coming next. At the same time, Chickie's shadow stretches from New York. His men are on the move, tightening their grip on Dwight's operations, spreading rumors to divide the crew. Chickie thinks he's setting a trap, but Dwight's been around too long to walk into one without knowing. The tension between them becomes the pulse of the episode, two predators circling the same kill, each waiting for the other to blink. The cinematography and pacing make this section feel heavy, almost suffocating. The camera lingers longer on faces, the colors feel colder, and the music turns slower, darker. Every conversation carries double meaning. Even when Dwight talks about simple things like running the bar or collecting payment, there's something behind it. He's preparing for a counterattack, but nobody around him knows who the target is yet. One of the most memorable sequences happens midway through the episode when Dwight calls a meeting with his crew. It's not the usual loud, chaotic gathering we've seen before. This one's quiet, controlled. He doesn't yell or give a fiery speech. Instead, he speaks softly, choosing every word like a knife. If someone in this room's been talking, I want you to remember truth has a funny way of crawling back home. The room goes silent. You can practically hear hearts pounding. It's leadership through fear, but it's also survival. Dwight isn't the kind of man who wastes words. Every line is a warning. As the episode moves forward, small threads begin to connect. That suspicious favor he did earlier suddenly makes sense. The seemingly random phone call from Section 1 turns out to be part of a setup. Dwight's calm before the storm wasn't about waiting, it was about positioning. Every betrayal, every move from Chickie's men, even the ATF pressure, all lead to one point. Dwight's been forcing everyone's hands, one by one, to make them show their cards. The fallout ends with a sharp, tense cliffhanger. One of Dwight's trusted lieutenants disappears. The bar is left in chaos. The feds close in with a new lead, and the city feels ready to explode. But as the final scene fades out, we see Dwight alone again, standing in the dark, lighting a cigar. He doesn't look scared or angry. He looks satisfied. Because the truth is, the chaos isn't hurting him. It's exactly what he wanted. He's not reacting to the fallout, he's orchestrating it. And for the first time in the season, it's clear. Dwight's ruthless masterstroke isn't about winning one battle. It's about forcing every enemy, friend, and traitor to step exactly where he wants them. The storm has only just begun, and Dwight Manfredi is right in the eye of it, calm, deadly, and in complete control. In Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 7, everything we've seen up to this point is silence. The tension, the betrayal wasn't chaos by chance. It was choreography. Dwight Manfredi doesn't just survive pressure. He bends it into a weapon. Section 3 of this episode feels like watching a chess grandmother move his final pieces into position, one deliberate step at a time, while everyone else is too distracted by the noise to realize they've already lost. After the fallout, Dwight begins to move differently. He stops reacting to problems and starts creating them. The shift is subtle but powerful. He's no longer defending his empire, he's expanding it from the shadows. Every conversation he has now carries a second meaning. Every favor he grants has a hidden price. The same calm that once seemed like control now feels like a trap slowly closing. The brilliance of Dwight's strategy lies in how invisible it is. He doesn't need to threaten anyone out loud because fear has already done the job. When people whisper his name in Tulsa, it's not about what he's done, it's about what they think he might do. The writers use this fear like a slow poison, spreading through the city's criminal network. Rival crews start fighting each other, businesses pull back, and even the police don't know where to strike. Dwight's silence becomes the most dangerous sound in Tulsa. One of the cleverest moments comes during a meeting with one of Chickie's men. On the surface, it looks like a truce to men sitting across a diner table, sharing coffee and polite smiles. But beneath that calm, Dwight's words are razor sharp. He talks about mutual respect and letting business run clean, but every line feels like a veiled threat. When he finally stands to leave, the other man realizes he's just been maneuvered into agreeing to terms he never wanted. That's Dwight's power. He wins wars before the bullets ever fly. Another key part of his strategy is his use of loyalty as bait. Dwight knows that trust is the rarest currency in his world, so he spends it carefully. He lets his enemies think he's slipping, that his crew is divided, that he's too old to keep up with the new game. It's an act. By lowering his guard, he lures them in closer, giving them just enough rope to hang themselves. It's not revenge for him, it's mathematics. Every betrayal he's suffered, every weakness he's shown becomes part of a bigger equation. The episode's middle act builds around a brilliant twist in Dwight's plan. Remember that informant from earlier? It turns out Dwight didn't punish him, he used him. The feds believe they're getting inside information, but what they're really getting is a trail Dwight has planted himself. False leads, fake accounts, misdirection, it's a perfect smokescreen. By the time they realize it's all staged, he's already moved his real operations out of sight. It's not just strategy, it's psychological warfare. Visually, the direction mirrors his mindset. Scenes become sharper, colder, and more symmetrical, like the world itself is falling into Dwight's rhythm. When he walks into a room, the energy changes. The camera lingers on his hands more often, pouring whiskey, lighting cigars, adjusting his cuffs as if every gesture is a signal, every pause a plan forming in real time. Even his silence feels heavier now. There's also a small, powerful subplot that deepens his cunning. Dwight reconnects with an old associate from his New York days, a man named Carlo, someone we thought was long gone. Their meeting seems casual at first, just two old mobsters reminiscing about better times. But beneath the nostalgia, Dwight is making moves. He's reviving old alliances, quietly rebuilding his power structure from the past while Tulsa tears itself apart in the present. Carlo's role becomes crucial later in the episode, revealing how far ahead Dwight has been thinking. What truly sets Dwight apart in this episode is his understanding of human nature. He doesn't just predict what people will do. He gives them the illusion of choice and lets them destroy themselves. When Tyson confesses his doubts, Dwight doesn't scold him. He says, "You don't have to trust me, kid. Just follow the pattern. You'll see how it ends." That line sums up his whole philosophy: control through inevitability. By the time we reach the final minutes of this section, the audience starts to understand the full scope of his plan. The betrayals, the fake information, the disappearing lieutenant, all of it was part of a larger design. Dwight hasn't just been cleaning up his enemies. He's been consolidating power, removing anyone who might one day stand against him. Even Chickie's network in New York begins to crumble under pressure. Not because Dwight attacked them directly, but because he turned their own greed against them. As the scene closes, Dwight stands on a rooftop overlooking the Tulsa skyline. The night is quiet, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. There's no music, no dialogue, just him, calm and unshaken, while the chaos below burns itself out. It's a haunting image, one that perfectly captures the essence of his strategy. Control the storm by becoming the eye within it. Dwight's masterstroke isn't a single act, it's the realization that power isn't about being feared or respected. It's about being inevitable. And in episode 7, he proves that the true strength of a king lies not in how loud he roars, but in how silently he conquers. The real brilliance of Tulsa King Season 3. Episode 7 lies in its final act, the point where every secret move, every quiet decision, every look Dwight gave finally collides into one ruthless masterpiece. The turning point doesn't come with gunfire or shouting. It creeps in like smoke, wrapping around every character until no one can tell who's in control anymore. But Dwight knows. He's known all along. This is the moment he's been engineering since the first minute of the episode, the masterstroke that turns all chaos into order. His order. It begins with what looks like defeat. Dwight's operation is under pressure from every direction. The ATF raids one of his fronts. Chickie's men seize control of key businesses. His crew fractures from the inside, unsure if they can still trust him. The bar, the symbol of his empire, stands half empty and tense, like a ship taking on water. Everyone believes Dwight's finally cornered. Even Tyson and Mitch start to wonder if the old man's luck has finally run out. But Dwight isn't panicking. He's waiting. That's when the episode shifts. The lighting grows darker, the pacing slower, almost funereal. The audience starts to sense that something big is coming, but it's impossible to tell what form it takes. Then, like a sudden spark in the dark, the trap snaps shut. The ATF bus that was supposed to take Dwight down. It's a setup, their setup, not his. The information they were fed, the evidence they were chasing, it all leads to Chickie's men. The very network that tried to destroy Dwight ends up taking the fall in broad daylight. Dwight's strategy unfolds like a magic trick, so smooth that when the reveal happens, you can't help but smile. The snitch he forgave. He planted him as a double agent. The missing lieutenant everyone thought was dead, he's alive and has been feeding false intel to the feds for weeks. Even the seemingly random bar arguments, the small deals, the sudden disappearances, they all line up perfectly in hindsight. Every loss Dwight took in this episode turns out to be a calculated sacrifice. Every betrayal a piece of his design. When the news spreads that Chickie's organization in New York is now under federal investigation, it's clear who orchestrated it. Dwight didn't need to pull a trigger or spill blood. He let the system destroy his enemies for him. His ruthless masterstroke isn't about violence, it's about control. It's about turning every weapon aimed at him into one he can fire back. But the genius of this ending isn't just in Dwight's victory, it's in the tone. It's not celebratory. It's eerie. There's no triumphant music, no smile, no satisfaction. When the dust settles, Dwight walks through his empty bar, surrounded by the quiet echoes of what he's built and broken. He pours himself another drink, the same way he did in the first section, and stares at the glass again. This time, though, he doesn't mutter about the cost of being king. He just drinks, expressionless. Because now, he is the king, but it's clear he knows what that crown costs. In one of the most powerful closing moments of the season so far, Dwight meets Tyson outside the bar. Tyson, still young and shaken by everything that's happened, looks at Dwight and asks, "Was it worth it?" There's a long pause. Dwight doesn't answer right away. He looks at the horizon, where Tulsa's lights flicker in the distance, and finally says, "Ask me when it's over." That line hangs heavy in the air. It's not just about this war, it's about his life. It's about the endless cycle of power, betrayal, and survival that defines men like him. Symbolically, episode 7's ending ties everything together. The masterstroke isn't just a victory, it's a reflection of Dwight's transformation. The man who once sought a new beginning in Tulsa has become exactly what he tried to escape, a ruler built on fear, isolation, and manipulation. The chessboard he built is perfect, but he's the only piece left standing on it. The lighting in that final shot, a dim glow cutting through smoke, visually represents that truth. He's both the king and the last man in the game. The writers also leave subtle clues for what's coming next. A shot lingers on a photo of Dwight's daughter on the bar counter, hinting that his family storyline isn't finished. A mysterious call comes through just before the credits roll, and Dwight answers without a word. We don't hear the voice on the other end, but his expression shifts cold to cautious. It's a promise that his empire may be secure for now. But his peace never will be. The final frame Dwight standing alone in the dark bar. A storm flickering outside summarizes the entire episode's theme. Power always comes with a price. He's untouchable, but not unscarred. The ruthless masterstroke he played didn't just destroy his enemies, it also erased whatever softness or humanity was left in him. So, when the screen fades to black, we're left not with a feeling of victory, but with a haunting realization. Dwight Manfredi didn't just win the game, he became it. And as the pieces fall away, one truth becomes clear. In Tulsa, there are no kings, only survivors. And Dwight, for better or worse, has learned how to be both.